So you want to do Bluemuda, you want to know what kind of seed to use, when to seed, how to prepare the ground, and what kind of fertilizer to use to get you going? Well, you're in luck, because that's what we're talking about today. So before we get going, I do want to say something about Bluemuda. It is not for a first-time homeowner / lawn owner. If you're a novice to your lawn and to lawn care in general, I would highly recommend kind of getting a grasp of everything for at least a season or two before attempting something like this. You can stick to overseeding the perennial ryegrass in the fall. It's still a fantastic option and looks really, really good. So with that said, let's get on into it. The seed you choose is honestly dependent upon your region. The transition zone is huge. It's a vast swath across the entire country, and the areas where Bermuda can survive are unfortunately growing and growing every year. So you really need to look at NTEP trials and pick a trial that is closest to your area to determine what kind of seed you want to use. I went with the Berenberg Turf Blue HGT again because I bought it last year to try out this whole Bluemuda experiment and see if Kentucky bluegrass would actually grow here in East Tennessee. And I was happy with the results. I was familiar enough with it, and so that's why I chose it again. Plus, it did really well on the UT trials on NTEP, along with other test sites. So that's why I chose that. The seed is honestly probably the easiest component of this. When to seed the lawn? Well, I've actually received a lot of questions on that, and when did I put down the Kentucky bluegrass? And this here is probably the single most important reason why you need to know your lawn. I know everyone says you need to know your lawn and all that stuff. You also really want at least 1 year of actually working in your yard and actively maintaining it and not just mowing when it needs to be mowed or whenever. This will help you identify problem spots. Every lawn is different, and so knowing the weak points in your lawn will help with this. So when did I seed? Well, the first year when I did that little tiny bit near the driveway, I actually seeded that in mid-August. It was like August 14th or 15th, something like that. This year, I waited a little bit longer. I seeded, and I think it was mid-September, so it was a full month difference. And I think that helped a little bit. And why do I think that? Well, one, the temperatures were a little bit lower, not much, but they were lower, so I didn't have to water as frequently. Overall conditions were more favorable for success of the grass germination. But it is entirely possible to seed in August. You could possibly even seed earlier, seed into July, if you're willing to maintain a rigorous watering schedule and also then fungicide schedules. But the biggest thing though is not so much the KBG, it's the Bermuda. You need to get it to where it's not growing as much, and unfortunately August for the majority of the transition zone is prime time Bermuda growing season. That's when it grows the best, the fastest, so that may not be the best time to actually apply the seed. So now that we have what seed we're using and when to seed, we need to talk about ground preparation. I've done this twice now. The first year, again, was that tiny little test spot, and then back here in the whole backyard. So what did I do differently between year one during the test and year two when I put it into production, if you want to call it that, because we're all in IT. Well, in year one, I did kind of a mini scalp. I didn't scalp it down really low. I didn't take it down to the dirt. I also did the T-Nex applications. I did the initial one as just part of my regular schedule. And then about a week prior, a few days prior, I did a second one. T-Nex does take a little bit of time to take effect, a couple days to start noticing results. I did that. And when I put the seed down, I also did an application of tenacity. My thinking behind that was, one, it allows the seed to germinate and kill any weeds, but it's also not labeled for Bermuda grass, and that allowed to kind of frosted tip, make the Bermuda white. The goal behind that was to let hurt this Bermuda as much as possible. It's not going to kill it, not with one application of Tenacity. Honestly, not with several applications of Tenacity. So it was to stunt that and damage it enough to allow the KBG to thrive. And did that work well? Yes, it did. It worked pretty well. Now for the backyard, I eliminated the Tenacity. I did not use that back here this year. But I did, in addition to going like a month later into mid-September, I also scalped it down to the dirt. It was nasty, it was messy, it took a very long time. However, looking at the results between what I did in the test plot and what I did back here, I think that was really the best choice. I could have used the Tenacity again, but I just, for some reason, didn't feel like doing it after scalping so much. So there's that. But I think the backyard did better with that scalp to the dirt. The Bermuda did recover. It recovered fine, and it was fully green before any signs of cold. So don't worry about that and hurting that, because people say you're not supposed to do that late in the season. Well, I did, and it turned out fine. So I say, yeah, forego the Tenacity, save your money. You're in a warm season lawn right now. You shouldn't have bought it unless you just haphazardly bought it because that's what everyone tells you to buy is the best weed killer ever and 47,000 ways on how to use it. But you don't need it. Skip it. Save your 80 bucks. That's better spent on anything else. So what about fertilizer? Well, I went ahead, I used X-Start. I had a couple bags in the shed, and I put that down the day after seeding. You could put it down at the day of seeding or wait until you have germination. The debate's up in the air on that. So then I did my Subvert Depth 10 Plus. I was running that at 1 ounce, 1.5 ounce per 1,000 square feet. I was doing that weekly, and I did that for about 4 weeks, and then life got in the way, and I had to stop. And I had a little tiny dose of X-Start in at that, but other than that, the yard has not seen any more fertilizers since then, and that kind of explains the lack of vibrancy behind me. So the fertilization is, you can put some starter fert down when you seed or after you seed. Whatever tickles your fancy. Do you need to use peptides? Yeah, I'd love for you to use peptides, especially if you bought them from me with the link below. But no, you don't have to use those either. NPK is just fine. And the germination turned out well. It all evenly germinated for the most part, and growth is occurring. It's still occurring now, even into late November, where I'm having to still mow. Well, still supposed to mow probably every 3 to 4 days, but I haven't been able to do that again because, yay, life. So that's it for the what kind of seed, when to seed, how to prepare the ground, and how to fertilize it. Bluemuda extravaganza all-in-one info drop stop. If y'all have any questions I glimpsed over or any questions about the process you want more in depth, feel free to drop a comment below. Shoot me an email. You all know what to do. So this is Mike, Real Low Dad. Life is finally turning around and moving on into the direction of the lawn again at the end of the growing season, of course. So with that, I want to thank you all again for watching. I appreciate it, and we will see you again soon.